Despicable Me 2 is a despicable movie. Now I'm going to say this right here and now. I don't like Illumination. I don't like that they try so hard to be a Diet DreamWorks / rip-off Disney. I don't like most of their movies. And if Sing really is the best movie in their library, then I really think it says a lot about the quality of the company if that unoriginal piece of garbage is their best movie. It's been said many times before, but Illumination, when they aren't making abominable piles of crap,
that's a woman,
have never made anything that rises above okay. The first Despicable Me was just fine. It's a serviceable movie and not something too dreadful to suffer through to watch with your kids. But never once did I think that movie had potential for a sequel, much less a franchise. And yet, here we are. I mean, the second one is not the worst movie ever, and it's not even the worst movie to come out of Universal. I just didn't see what all the hype was about, and wasn't all that impressed with the end result when I finally saw it on public TV. I mean, this movie has a Rotten Tomatoes rating of 74? Yeah, I guess that sounds about right. But then something about this movie stuck with me that I just couldn't get rid of. So I watched it again, and came to the conclusion I didn't think it was very good. Let's talk about why. The one thing I ask myself every time I see a movie is, if it doesn't have one in the works yet, does this movie need a sequel? Does it deserve one? If the answer is yes, I ask myself, how are they going to do it? With some movie sequels, they go a different direction the first movie went, which can have varying results. Other times, the sequel does everything the first movie did. This can work in some ways, so long as it does something different. Have different characters, or slightly alter the story in some way. The best example I can think of is Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back sort of does the same thing the first movie did. Good guys fight the bad guys, but it also did some things different. It had characters interact with each other more. It expanded the universe of the series by telling us more about the Force and the mysteries of the Jedi Order. It helped Luke grow as a character. And it finally helped us understand Luke's backstory with him finding out about his heritage. I'm not saying Empire Strikes Back is perfect. It's not. Even with the special edition trying to cover up the plot holes from the original cut, it's still not perfect. Now, one of the compliments I can give Despicable Me 2 is that it doesn't copy the story of the first movie and goes its own way. The problem is, the way it goes is boring and predictable. I mean, there are some scenes that legitimately got me a laugh, even moments with the minions, and there are some really good family scenes too. Too bad they're almost always ruined by the minions. Oh look, a heartfelt moment between Gru and the girls showing how much he cares for them. Well, that just killed the mood. Mood whiplash is a big problem with this movie. We can be watching a scene of Gru and Lucy taking his date home that's full of slapstick and comedy. Then we get an emotional scene between the two. We get a scene between Gru and Agnes that doesn't make me want to drink bleach, which then cuts to this.
I hate you.
Does he just have that flamethrower under his desk at all times? There are so many things you think are going to go somewhere but don't. Look, Agnes screams like Willy in the Lego Indiana Jones game. Maybe this will be the weakness of the mutant minions or come into play later. Nope, never comes up again. Why is Middle Girl a ninja now? Where'd she learn to do all that? This one minion falls for Lucy. It's brought up once and then is never addressed again. Lucy leaving for Australia after they bust the wrong guy. Totally pointless. Even the whole thing with Margot getting a boyfriend is completely pointless. At one moment, she's like, oh, I need a boyfriend in my life now. And next she's like, I hate boys because mine's a cheating scumbag. This could have actually gone somewhere. Since the guy is the son of the villain, why not have him try and make Margot join his dad in evil? Or how about have Margot realize it's good to have a boyfriend, but when he takes up too much time from the rest of your family, then it's bad? Or how about use him to allow Gru to grow as a character? Have this guy be a caring boyfriend, then let Gru realize he's not going to be able to take care of Margot all her life, and that she's got someone who will be able to take care of her in the years to come. Nah, screw all that. Boys are bad because they cheat. Almost every other character in this movie that isn't Gru, obvious villain, or Dr. Nefario, or just barely a minion, are completely pointless to the plot. Really think about it. What do Lucy, the girls, or Margot's not boyfriend add to the plot? Nothing. Almost everything that revolves around these characters could easily be cut out and nothing would be lost. So let's talk about Margot's love interest, Antonio. There's not much to talk about with him. Literally, throughout the whole movie, we only know one thing about him.
And my dream is to one day play video games for a living.
Because Let's Plays don't exist, right?
Wow. You're so complicated.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
And that's all we know about him. He has the least amount of lines and screen time in the whole movie. Even Mabel has more lines than him, and she at least has some importance. If Mabel was cut out, there'd be no reason for Lucy and Gru to spend time together, and we couldn't get the only decent scene between the two. There was so much potential with this character. Like, they could have had obvious McBad guy not be the villain, and instead have his son be the mastermind, giving some foreshadowing in this scene.
You need to arrest him immediately, and his deviously charming son. I think that the son is the mastermind.
This would just come off as Gru being overprotective and silly, but if they went this way, it could lead to some hilarious results. And what was Antonio's reason for being evil, you might ask? He knows his dad is El Macho, but he's disappointed his dad is satisfied with simply being a Mexican restaurant owner. And that would have added something to his character, but instead they just went the obvious way that even the 5-year-olds in the audience saw coming the moment this character walked on screen. Apparently Antonio was supposed to save Maro from one of the evil minions and then they'd kiss. Then Gru would shoot at them with the jelly gun and then compliment Antonio for saving Margot. And Margot would tell Antonio that Gru is starting to like him. But we can't have that. That would give this character a point. The plot of this movie is so thin and so stretched out that they need to add filler to make it feature length.
Are you wearing a wig? I'm gonna rip that thing off your head and show everyone what a bald-headed phony you are.
Oh hi Mabel! Weird hearing your voice coming out of that body. What was the point of this? He is bald, but he doesn't want anyone to know that he's bald, but when Lucy shows up, he takes off his wig, showing off that he's bald. What? Why did he even go on the date in the first place? He could have just gone out the back door, gone to his lair. No, I'll go on this date for some reason and try to keep up appearances for some reason. 10 minutes of screen time! Scenes in this movie drag on for minutes longer than they should. It's like they didn't have enough plot to fill up the movie, so they just decided to drag scenes out and add in these pointless flashbacks, montages, dance sequences, and fantasy sequences. Because otherwise this would have to be released straight to Blu-ray, and we can't have that. We're Illumination! We have standards, for crying out loud. They could have easily done more to fill up time than this obnoxious crap. They could have spent more time on Lucy and Gru's relationship. They could have had the other shopkeepers be more involved in the plot. Like, why not have them all be part of different spy agencies that all suspect each other of different things? That would have been funny. They could have had Gru use Margot to use Macho's son so he can get close to Macho. It would have more or less been a retread of the last movie, but it would have at least allowed for some really funny moments. Like Gru hating himself for using Margot like this when she actually enjoys it. Or have Margot pretend like she's going along with the plan so she can date Macho's son. Or even have Macho's son be revealed to actually be using Margot so El Macho can take the minions while Gru was distracted. Do you see how this movie could have been better if they didn't have 68% of it be entirely pointless? Ah, but Shades, you don't understand. This movie isn't made for you. It's made for little babies who don't care about the plot. Okay, fine. If you want your movie to be more focused on the entertainment and emotional stuff, fine. But can you at least make it so that the entertainment is, you know, entertaining and not worth a little more than an eye roll? I can count the number of times I laughed at this movie on one hand. And having watched this movie several times for this review, the few things that made me laugh or chuckle, or even crack a smile, start to lose it for me because they're the only time they can get that reaction out of me, which is a bad sign for your supposed comedy. And I'm very easy to entertain. I love laughing. I love jokes. I almost like SpongeBob in that one episode.
Another day, another dollar. Bye.
More like another nickel.
I'm sorry, but I think it's kind of funny. So when you have someone like me who is very easy to make laugh, and you only make me laugh a few times, that's not a very good sign. And I know, humor is subjective, so maybe someone thinks this is the funniest movie ever. And if that person is an adult, I fear for humanity.
I saw this in a theater and every demographic of people were there. Old, young, black, white, Nazis. The interesting thing is no one laughed the entire movie. I think I heard a little kid chuckle twice, but no one seemed entertained by what they were watching.
Most of the humor in this movie is slapstick, which is fine, but since it's the main source of humor in this movie, it gets old really fast. There's only so many times someone could get hit on the head, zapped with a taser, or something else like that before it stops being fun and just starts being annoying. And the number of inappropriate jokes in this movie, like, am I just really dirty-minded or were these intentional?
I love it's you, boy.
You
Are you single?
Ah, hey,
Oh, she's just,
If these jokes were made for kids, they fail because most kids won't understand them. And if they were made for adults, then they fail because adults are too busy burying their faces in their hands because the movie sucks. There's a way to do adult humor right, and you can have it as a bonus for the parents watching it. But having them in the movie, because you can, just makes the adults in the audience groan. So, what is the plot? I've spent the last however long not going over the plot. That's kind of the point, but What is the plot? The movie opens in the Arctic when a giant magnet ship comes down and steals the lab. How's the snowmobile not getting sucked up right away? Transition over to Gru's house where he's having a birthday party for Agnes. This accomplishes taking up about 7 minutes of screen time. Lucy meets Gru and knocks him out and stuffs him in the trunk of her car. She takes him to the Anti-Villain League, where they attempt to recruit Gru to find the person who stole the lab that was doing experiments on non-copyright infringing Hulk serum. So Gru and Lucy set up a fake shop to try to stake out the other shop owners to try to see who the villain could be. Then this character comes in, and even the 3-year-olds in the audience figure out he's the villain. The first time he shows up in the movie, everyone watching this figured out he's the villain. This is a major problem with the movie. They keep trying to make you think he's not the villain, but he obviously is.
That guy looks exactly like a villain named El Macho.
Of course this guy is the villain. He's literally wearing the same necklace just turned on its side. And that passes the 45-minute mark and I'm like, oh me, we're not going down this route, are we? Yep, we are. The overprotective father plot that I absolutely despise. It just seems like this movie was intended to be a movie about Gru and his family, but they decided to make a spy movie as well. When will they learn this is a bad idea? They only really investigate one other shop owner, and if you really thought it was him while you were watching this movie, then you're about as smart as Mr. Ramsbottom. So from there, the plot just evolves into... what? Okay, so obviously bad guy has been kidnapping minions and using the not Hulk serum on them. Wait, how are they staying in their cages? They can eat an entire police car, but they can't eat simple cage bars. The thing about this whole subplot is, you expect the minions disappearing to have some kind of impact on the plot, other than this is bad guy's plan. At the very least, you expect the other characters to acknowledge that the minions are disappearing, but we literally only get one acknowledgement of it.
Kevin, the Wi-Fi's out. We need to revisit the number of vacation days you guys get. I can't find anybody anymore.
And that's literally it. There's so much focus put on the scenes of the minions getting stolen, and none of the characters seem to care or notice. Then what was the point of putting so much emphasis on the minions getting stolen if the other characters weren't going to notice? Honestly, if you cut out these needlessly long scenes of the minions getting kidnapped, you'd probably have just about the same reaction as the characters. I.e. none. There's practically no tension in this movie, and when there is, it's almost completely superficial. Dr. Nefario leaves Gru early on in the movie. Gee, I wonder how long that will last. Oh no, someone's capturing all the minions. Gee, I wonder who it could be. The climax is particularly infuriating to me because of this. Oh no, the bad guys made an army of invincible minions. Oh, Dr. Nefario somehow has a cure. Oh no, Gru and the other two are surrounded by... oh, Dr. Nefario and the girls show up. Oh no, Lucy is strapped to a shark that's strapped to a rocket, and the guy's about to press the... oh, the minion got the button. Oh no, the bad guy drank the evil potion and now he's all big and scary. Oh, Gru has Lucy's lipstick taser. Wait, isn't he supposed to be invincible? How come that can hurt him? Were the writers not paying attention when they wrote this? Are only the minions invincible? Oh no, the chicken pressed the button and Lucy and Gru are going to die or something. Oh wait, there's water all around you. All the tension in this scene could easily been avoided if they just went, hey, we're above the ocean, let's jump. Well, now they have to swim all the way back. Oh, there are some minions blowing around the island. Wait, didn't the bad guy capture all the minions? What are these three doing out here? There's nothing to be learned from this. Nothing gained. Nothing changes. The only thing that changes by the end is Gru and Lucy get married. Like, we couldn't see that coming from a million miles away. Gru learns he needs to get married so his girl can have a maternal figure in their life. Yeah, that's right. If you're a single parent, you need to get married or else your kids will be sad forever.
Well, then maybe you can just use your imagination.
You mean I pretend I have a mom?
Yes, right? You can do that, can't you?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
That's totally not manipulative or anything. Maybe he's not ready to get married, but we have the girls trying to force him to find someone. That's just insulting to single parents everywhere. This movie seems to be implying that single parents aren't capable of taking care of their kids, which is exactly the opposite of the first movie. The only reason Gru's a bad parent in this movie is so the writers could have this super forced relationship and try to justify it being a good thing. And on that note, can we talk about Lucy for a bit? Not my sweet puppy dog, this Lucy. Actually, that's also going to be kind of hard because there's not much to talk about her either. She comes off as a more serious character when she's first introduced, but because this is a kid's cartoon movie, she becomes over the top, cartoony, and silly, in massive air quotes.
Yeah, what you just saw there was a little something new I've been working on. It's a combination of a jujitsu, Krav Maga, Aztec warfare, and crumping.
Well, that didn't just age the movie horribly. This movie only came out 5 years ago and I don't even know what crumping is. What next? Are you gonna have a minion dab in Despicable Me 4? I kind of get the feeling that there were meant to be two different characters. One mostly serious and smart and the other silly and goofy. And silly one would be paired up with Gru. But they decided to fuse the two together to save costs, because otherwise this makes no sense. What's her story? Where did she come from? Apparently her parents were killed when she was younger. Why was that never brought up in the movie? When she talks to Gru about him being a dad,
Those girls totally adore you. I bet you're a fun dad.
that doesn't sound like someone who lost their parents. That sounds like someone making a passing observation. Oh, but she was keeping it inside to look under control in front of Gru. No. Just no. Something tells me this was an afterthought to try to give something to Lucy other than her being silly and obnoxious. And neurotic, too.
Thank you, crew stewardess! You're welcome!
Yeah, that's totally the reaction I'd have if someone opened the hatch to a plane calling me something I'm not. What are you doing? Panic! She's gone crazy! We're all gonna die! I guess just play along with crazy people and pretend everything's alright. Right? And you mean to tell me that she didn't see Gru's rocket car taking off? She should have seen it heading that way since she came from the other way. Does she have tunnel vision? How'd she even know Gru would be there? No, we need her to be captured by obvious McBad guy because we can't have our love interest do anything in the climax. That would be boring. Illumination really loves their female characters, don't they?
That's a woman?
And then there's the relationship between Lucy and Gru. Throughout the whole movie, she keeps clinging to him like a puppy. To me, it just felt like the writers were saying, these two are going to get together by the end. Can you tell? It just all felt so forced. I mean, you could argue that other couples from arguably better movies had the same forced chemistry, like Aladdin and Jasmine first come to mind. But the first scene between those two involves them realizing they have more in common than they thought. Jasmine, a princess, has something in common with this peasant guy. Aladdin, some peasant guy, has something in common with this random stranger.
Inconceivable!
There is exactly one scene like that in this movie, and it comes almost an hour into the movie, only to be followed by the also super forced obligatory third act breakup. We then only see Lucy when she decides she wants to stay with Gru, and then she gets captured by obvious McBad guy. And then we never see her again until the climax, where she doesn't contribute anything, and they nicely wrap up this forced relationship.
If I'd asked you out on a date, what would you have said?
Are you kidding me? Yes!
This relationship is so forced. Here's what preludes their wedding. Because if this text didn't exist, you'd think that they got married right away. And we're supposed to be better than Disney. I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but the relationship between these two characters in a story I'm writing is more believable than these two. Mostly because I'm not forcing it. I've written forced relationships before, and that one's set in high school. And let's face it, most high school relationships are forced. These two aren't high schoolers, they're grown adults. I don't know about you, but I don't see adults acting like this in real life. Oh, but it's not real life, it's a fictional universe in a movie that's made for kids. Just because your movie is fictional doesn't mean you need to throw logic completely out the door. And just because a movie is made for kids doesn't mean it needs to be stupid. An older example of this would be the classic Disney movies, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. All of those movies were made and marketed directly at kids, but they also had some really mature moments and themes. Sure, they had silly song numbers and comic relief characters, but you can't go about a movie that's aimed for kids and not expect at least one of those. For better or worse.
I'm losing to a bird!
Then, of course, they pulled the sad split-up plot after these two have only been on one date, and only Lucy has shown any interest in Gru before the date. This relationship is so forced. I don't have a problem with these two getting together. There's a pretty okay scene with them bonding. What I do take issue with is the movie not taking enough time to develop this relationship. You need extra time in the movie, so why not dedicate more time to this relationship instead of the minions? And no, them checking out obvious McBad guy's restaurant doesn't count. She's not even necessary to the scene. Gru could have snuck into the restaurant himself and found the salsa himself. It doesn't take a genius to figure out there's a safe behind the picture. Why is it Twilight and Flash Sentry are not okay, but these two are? They literally have just about the same chemistry, and that's all I can really talk about. I can't talk about the villains, since despite him having more presence in the movie, there's less to talk about him than there is to talk about his son. I can't talk about the girls, since there's not much to talk about them either. I can't even really talk about Gru either. It's almost like everything that made the first movie good was watered down to make room for...
Give me shekels, give me pesos, let me see their smiling faces. Money, 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 money.
So I hope I was able to explain my stance on this movie and why I don't like it. And if you do like this movie, fine, like it all you want. But when people say that Minions was the worst movie in the Despicable Me universe, I'm just like, did you people actually watch this movie? This was basically a Minions movie just with a spy Gru plot. And people who say that this is the best animated movie of 2013, really? I'm not saying you can't like the movie, but are you really going to tell me with a straight face that this is the best of 2013? I know we had pretty slim pickings that year, but this is not the best out of all of them. Honestly, I'd say it's on par with most of the crap that came out that year. And please, don't tell me I'm overthinking this movie or overanalyzing because it's a kid's movie. I think Adam put it best.
How about next time you talk to someone about movies, just say, I don't care about the plot, structure, or overall quality of a movie so long as it's marketed towards children. Some people like to use the word as a replacement for, this movie's dumb and you're going to ruin it for me if you make me use my brain.
And that's the thing that really pisses me off about this movie. So many people say it's so good, but if you just use your brain while watching it, you start to realize this movie is kind of stupid.
So clap along if you sing this song under your breath. Clap along if you beg for the sweet